Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 390 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your producer, Luke Millette, and here is your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing David Meltzer. And if you want to understand how business and chiropractic make the philosophy better, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is episode 390. Today I have David Meltzer coming in. This is going to be a big time show. I'm really, really blessed to have you on. But before we get to jump into your story and talking to you about your big mission and your books, I just want to let people know our big why. Why do we do what we do? Well, Chiro Hustle, we do protect free speech. I think that's so valuable today. We are the #1 podcast in the world for chiropractors. So that's really cool too. And because of that, we have to have some guidelines. We protect the sacred trust. If you guys don't know what that is, go and do your favorite search engine and do BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. We also support subluxation-based chiropractors, universal intelligence, and innate intelligence, that when a person gets adjusted, it connects man or woman, the physical, to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that being said, David, welcome to the show.
You're speaking my language. Thanks for having me. Such a pleasure to be here. It's amazing how I've accumulated and put myself in a position with so many chiropractors, but I do talk about the alignment of mind, body, and soul, and nobody better to talk to than chiropractors about that alignment.
Yeah. So your mission, I read your bio. I love it. I think more people need to know about what you're doing. And you don't just talk about the one, you don't just talk about the 100, you don't just talk about the thousands, not the millions. You're into this billion. So let's talk to people about your billion mission.
Yeah, so my mission is to empower don't limit me, over 1 billion people. And I want to change the world by changing the collective consciousness of the world by teaching people 3 things that I'm very good at. And I have multiple lessons and dummy tax paid in, but it's number 1, create abundance, make a lot of money. Number 2, to help a lot of people, to reaffirm, confirm, collect, and recollect, and remember the oneness of the universe. And then finally, of course, to have fun or to be happy. And by teaching people to make money, to help people and have fun, I will help create a collective consciousness of abundance where there's more than enough of everything for everyone.
One of the things I loved about most meeting you down in Puerto Rico, we were just at a mastermind for the Guardians, and I saw you speak, and I was the first person right out of that room to meet up with you and say, hey, number 1, thank you. Number 2, let's get this book. Number 3, let's do a quick photo. So I was really excited to just like bridge the gap and get to meet you. And I beat you before all the other people came in and said, what's up to you? But one of the things is I got the book, which is just kind of like a little workbook that you created. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the interview together. But one of the things you said is, I want to make myself available for 20 minutes with anybody. And I thought that was so selfless on your part to make yourself available to get to know people.
Yeah, well, there's 3 lenses that I think we can utilize to reconcile the man-made construct of time, which is for a lot of people something that creates void, shortages, obstacles, and resistance. So I've created a mechanism that anyone that wants to meet with me in person, do an interview, anyone, I will find 20 minutes of time, a minimum of 20 minutes. Now, you're a special friend, so I'm giving a little bit extra to you. So let everyone know, most people only get a minimum of 20, but I do make exceptions. And then if someone wants to take the time to have a phone call, I'll give anyone a minimum of 5 minutes on the phone, just to give them some advice, to set them on the way, see if we can't be sponsors or power sponsors of one another. How can we help each other? How do we know other people that can help us? And it's really under the guise of productivity, how productive, how much value are we providing, accessibility, how accessible are we to providing value and receiving value, by the way, and then finally, reconciling time with gratitude. What do I mean by that? By giving everyone 5 minutes on the phone or 20 minutes in person, I now am able to create a level of importance or a prioritization because everyone in the world has light, love, and lessons in them. But we have to determine whether it's worth our time to find that we can help them or find someone to help them. So many people waste so much time with people that bleed them, even though there's light, love, and lessons. They're in abusive relationships, they're in a scarce world, a job they hate. Go ahead and reconcile time with productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, and you'll find the most efficient, effective, and statistically successful way to make money, help people, and have fun.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I was just going through like your timeline on social, and I saw that you do different types of levels of posting, and I want to talk to you more about that as we continue this conversation. But one of the things you did is you talked about people giving you advice, and it's like putting sand in your hand. Do you want to just give people a recap on that visual?
Yeah, so for me, look, we create resistance when people give us advice, especially people that love us. Instead, what we should do is treat it like a handful of sand. We should be appreciative that we have a whole handful of advice, but we have to allow the grains of sand to pass through our hands, the ones that aren't allowed with what we want personally, experientially, giving and receiving, the ones that won't help others or help us. And so I treat all advice like a handful of sand. I'm really grateful to have all the sand in my hand, but I'm going to let the grains that are not aligned with what I want and who I can help and who can help me to fall through, especially the people who love us most. If you have parents that love to give you advice, I'm 54. My mom still loves to give me advice. And my first response always is, "Oh my gosh, mom, thank you so much. I'm going to take that under consideration." And I let it fall through my hand the majority of the time.
I love that, man. I think it's really powerful for people to think about because everybody wants to boost others up with what they know. Sometimes it's just not the right fit for us, and we have to be considerate to other people for what they're doing as well. Um, so you've been working with chiropractors now. How long have you been working with chiropractors?
Yeah, so I've started with Sean Dill, who you know is the head of the Black Diamond Club, about 2.5 years ago. And I guess my philosophies and disciplines are completely aligned with the basis of chiropractic work, and including the Green Book, which I still have yet to read the Green Book, but everyone thinks, oh, David studied the Green Book from all the different things that I talk about in my philosophies and my perspective. So, for whatever reason, chiropractors, especially, align with my philosophies. But then I'm capable, because they are mostly entrepreneurs, I'm capable of really being able to assist them on, hey, how do I not only make a lot of money and help a lot of people? Because most chiropractors, they help a lot of people. They're not so great at making money, but even more building their brands. Because there's a huge opportunity for people like you, people like Sean Dill or Lacey Book, people like Amanda, to build a brand so that they can be one of my 1000s. Because, as you know, I'm not going to get to over 1 billion people myself. I need 1,000 people like you who will empower 1,000 people to empower 1,000 people to be happy. So I have to empower you 1,000 times 1,000s, a million times 1,000s, a billion. That's how I'm going to shortcut my way to changing the world.
Love it, man. Like the whole thing makes so much sense to me. So in the chiropractic world, you've been helping them for the past 2.5 years, specifically working with the Black Diamond Club. Um, so when it comes to it, what have you seen the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to branding and marketing for chiropractors?
Well, the good part is that there's a powerful essence about healers, about people that are here to be of service and of value to others. And so the most powerful positive is that dealing with really good people who care about other people,
Mm.
innately, like you said, care about other people. Here's the negative: they don't know how to receive. Most of them, if they literally they have worthy issues, they feel shameful if they ask for money. A lot of them have destroyed themselves because they appreciate everything and everyone. They acknowledge it by giving it away, And then when you teach them to ask for more, to ask for bigger, so they could do more and do bigger, they feel shameful. They feel bad. They don't like to receive. And so the biggest challenge when we say the good is how beautiful of souls they are, the bad is how beautiful of souls they are, that they don't realize we don't live in a zero-sum world. We live in a value add world. And just when you are adding value by healing people, you actually are healing them by asking them for more. And so that's the bad part about it. And then the ugly part about it is a business. And so there's employees and overhead and scaling, and there's a shortage of, qualified, I see a critical business issue in recruitment and retention of chiropractors. If they want to scale, they have the big O, the little C, which I think is always the ugliest component in business. Big opportunities and little capabilities because they can't find enough people to serve with them. And they don't have enough time to train those people to serve with them. So I deal with the good side, the beautiful side, the ugly side of teaching them to receive, and of course, the bad. I mean, the bad side of receiving, and then the ugly side of teaching them how to scale. And that's their biggest challenge today.
I appreciate that, and I'm gonna create a little micro clip of what you just said about the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think that all chiropractors need to hear that, especially coming from your voice on our platform, because that co-creates something that's really easy for people to have access to, and that's one of the things you like to talk about is access and action. So I think that that's really cool. Access made me close to you. I got a chance to meet you in Puerto Rico. Once again, here's the book that I picked up. It's a little, I read this on the flight back, by the way, and I did all the assignments inside of it because you have like these little parts where you're supposed to like do stuff. And I
Yeah.
actually followed the directions. I like filled it out and whatnot. So thank you for doing that. But you've also done two other books that I want to make note of, Connected to Goodness and Game Time Decision Making. So let us in on the background of why you created these two books and the impact that it's having.
Yeah, so the workbook that actually me and Jack Canfield created, the
Pretty cool.
author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, is for charity, and that's a great workbook. But it really comes to life with the other books that I've written. Connected to Goodness is the basis, the foundation of how we take nothingness, living our lives like tubes, food in, food out, and create possibilities, and then how to take the possibilities in our lives to create probabilities, and then how to take the probabilities in our lives and make it our perspective. So connected to goodness is the basis of manifestation or allowing things to happen. The mantra that should be evolving in you is not I'm going to get more happy, more healthy, more wealthy, more worthy, but I already am. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. This book helps you figure out what you're doing to interfere with it. I also wrote a book called Compassionate Capitalists, which gives you a challenge to not only make money, but to help people and have fun. And then the third book, which you mentioned, is Game Time Decision Making. And what I have found is if I can teach people to prioritize, then I can teach them to make quick decisions that are aligned with what they want, not what other people want, not what's missing, what they don't want. No need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty. No more worrying, no more complaining, which are duplicative negatives that not only interfere with our potential, but actually are wishing for what we don't want. So I created a step-by-step book to learn to prioritize every day in a trajectory to the unrealistic midterm and even more audacious long-term objectives using real circumstances of today in order to effectuate a big future for tomorrow by prioritizing what's important to us, by giving that game time decisions that we use, sports stories mainly to teach. I'm a big person who believes in lessons and stories, not just lessons. I hate to be told lessons. I love to listen to stories and learn lessons through other people's dummy tax. So I've used the greatest sports lessons and the greatest sports stories to effectuate prioritization. Remember, prioritization is the antidote to procrastination and feeling overwhelmed.
There's so many golden nuggets in that. You know, when I interview people, it gives me like osmosis. I like learn from them because I get a chance to like be connected with them. And I'm sure that, you're telling people about, sports analogies and how it goes into like their day-to-day like mentality and what they can do. I know you do something called 2-minute drill. And I know that you do short format, you do medium long format, and then you do long format. Which one of those mediums do you prefer creating in the most?
I like the long format. You know why? Because it institutes the theory of branding, which is Shakespeare. Long format allows me to capture the essence of who I am. So, to thine own self be true is what Shakespeare always has said. And then, more importantly, it helps me to leverage something that chiropractors really can leverage. Let me leverage the world as my stage. Why is that? Because if I have short form content, that's all I have. But if I do long form content, I get the best in all of all worlds, meaning, hey, I captured this little 1 minute, this 10 seconds, this quote, this meme. All the content derives from the content. So the tricky answer to your question is I like long form content because it includes all the previous aforementioned content, and the short form content can only be finite to its own length. So the longer the content, the better for me because I can facilitate utilizing every platform, capture, modify it, amplify it, and perpetuate it everywhere.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle. The whole strategic modeling of that is one thing makes many things. And the book becomes your core content. The interviews become your core content. Then you get to stage and you can record that talk that you do from stage. You can make micro content out of that. You can create podcast interviews off of that. Each thing snowballs into the next thing until you have this avalanche of content. And I think it's really cool to see how, I don't follow a lot of people, but since I met you, I've been on your train and I've been seeing how you've been producing. And the thing is that the shorter things that you produce push me to go investigate the longer things that you do. And I think that so many times when people think about creating content, they become, as one of the words you use frequently, is overwhelmed. And they have too much on their mind to actually produce. And then they get this whole thing of paralysis by analysis, and then they don't take action. And I think that that's something that if people just understood, if they made one pillar of content, and then they could take that content and make a pull quote image. They could do a reel off of it. They could do a TikTok off of the reel. Like when people understand that you can take one thing and make many things, that's really the secret to this.
And one other thing, right? Most people don't do what I do is I transcribe everything I do, including this interview. So I have AI that'll transcribe this into Word, and then it becomes searchable because we have actual words, and then we can create a blog, and then I can create a search engine because search engines work off of words, not video. So by transcribing something using AI, I'm now capable of extending or amplifying it even further. So it's a better example even to understand this idea of the Shakespearean stage theory of capture you, then modify, then amplify, and then perpetuate.
When people search for a doctor that's been on Chiro Hustle, one of the first things that they'll do is they'll search for a doctor, and one of the first things they'll index is our interview. And I tell people when you do an interview with us, just to let you know, your patients, your practice members, your friends, your family, your colleagues, your people you went to high school with, people you went to college with, they're going to hear your story. And when they search for you, now they're going to find your episode of the interview with me. So let's tell people your story, because a lot of times when people make it, like you said, sometimes they get this like feeling inside of them that they shouldn't be proud of their accomplishments, and they shouldn't they forget how to be proud of becoming a doctor. And I think that those things we have to discuss.
Absolutely, they have to ask, like there's not one interview that I don't ask people to share my content and do good deeds. There's not one interview I don't give my email address, david@dmeltzer.com, to reach out to me so I can send my books, my guides, my exercises. So you can come. I've done free trainings for over 22 years every Friday. Over 66,000 people registered every Friday for my training. And I do all types of training: sales training, marketing training, scaling a business training, ultimate ego training. I even do a mommy issue training. So I cover all types of content in my trainings for over 22 years. And I'm not afraid to ask on these because I know my family, friends, the chiropractors that I work with, and new ones that want to work with me, all are listening to this is the top chiro podcast in the world. They're listening. And when they search, hey, has David ever done anything with chiros? This will be what comes up even before the Black Diamond Club.
Yeah, it's powerful. And I appreciate you taking the opportunity to being on the interview with me today. I want to go back to the topic of healthcare. Um, where are we going? We know that we've been in this huge like ecosystem of confusion and fear. But where are we going in the healthcare arena, and how does chiropractic fit into that?
Well, I think, look, the expense of traditional Western medicine is out of control. The efficacy of traditional Western medicine is out of control. What we need to do is have a combination of healers like chiropractors and traditional Western medicine. There's certain circumstances, as I have surrounded myself. I just got back from another mastermind at the Indy 500 with some extraordinary chiropractors, the guys who, do the Olympians and, just incredible people. But there's some things they can't heal, right? We still need traditional Western medicine to, set a broken bone, for example. There's some, I'm still going to go to a dentist if I have a cavity, as much as I love my chiropractor. So I think where we're going is this beautiful blend of Western and Eastern medicine, of healers and medicine. Remember, the whole idea that's going to be evolving here is there's either ease or dis-ease. And this alignment, nutrition, perspective, mindset, heart set, and handset that we're in control of are at the core of chiropractic medicine. And we're going to find that healers like chiropractors are going to be at the forefront of this reconciliation of the evolution of medicine, because not only is it a much more effective way, but it's also a less expensive way and a much more preventative way to allow us to be at ease and get rid of this dis-ease.
So taking this back to a sports analogous format is teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely. And it's never been better or exhilarated or illustrated by chiropractics.
Yeah, I think that we're definitely into the next phase, and people are looking for answers. And for a long time, chiropractic's all been about the pain analysis, but now people are starting to realize that the brain function is directly a chiropractic issue, and they're starting to realize that the gut is a chiropractic issue, and they're starting to realize that some of these these deep symptomatologies that people have with real neurological concerns are chiropractic issues. And more people are going to chiropractors because they want health and human performance, not because they're in pain in an infirmary. And you were so right about something you said, that trauma care is a different level of health care. Health from a chiropractic perspective is a whole different level of care as opposed to trauma care. So we need two doctors in our life, one to keep us healthy and one to save us from dying.
Yeah, look, even my dentist uses chiropractors today, because what they found is if you sit in a chair for 2 hours having surgery, that the pain afterwards isn't from the actual surgery; it's from the position of getting out of alignment. And so they actually have a chiropractor in the office that does the adjustment after the surgery, and it's amazing how quickly people recover and how much less pain they have than traditional dentistry.
Well, 5 minutes left. Make the most of our time together. We'll go rapid fire. 4 questions. Who are some of your heroes and influencers?
Well, believe it or not, Jesus is my number one influencer, because it's a reminder of the power, the omniscient, all powerful, and all knowing that I'm connected to. Einstein is one, because I believe everything compounds in interest, everything aggregates in its effect, and everything is relative. And by studying Einstein, I learned so much, not only about money, but about behavior as well, in my perception. And then Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill is a huge influence. Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Power of Intention is another huge one. The Course in Miracles is another huge influence in my life. Bob Proctor, who's recently passed, as well, a huge influence in my life. And then my mom and my wife.
Amen.
My mom and my wife have had the greatest influence in my physical life, and the unconditional love that both of them have given me, to help me through their ultimate patience to be my better self. And without my mom and without my wife, I would not nearly be on the pursuit of the potential that I have. I would probably be spiraling in the direction when I was a multi-millionaire, in doing the wrong things and surrounding myself with the wrong people. I've now acquired more wealth than ever, more happiness, more health, and more worthiness because of those two beautiful women.
Well, that's what I call an amen moment. I want to produce people to experience more amen moments in their life. You don't have to even say a word. You just inside of us, we're like, amen. Like that makes you feel that, it's like a vibe inside of us. It's energy. So yeah, that's a huge amen moment for me. Thank you for sharing that. Um, Next question. What are you doing personally to stay healthy?
So I spend a minimum of 1 hour a day on my health as a non-negotiable priority, before my family, before my activity I get paid for. So non-negotiable 1 hour a day on my health, which includes my nutritional plan, stretching, cardio, meditation. All It's a minimum of an hour, by the way. Sometimes it's more. And then I do light weights or calisthenic weight resistance, push-ups, sit-ups, leg lifts, things like that. So I am 7 days a week, minimum of an hour a day on my health, and varying degrees of intensity, varying exercises, always including a sweat each day. So I want to make sure I at least get to the point of sweating. Some days I'm perspiring beyond belief. You don't want to give me a hug. And other days I'm just breaking a sweat.
So awesome, David. Two last things. I know I couldn't get to the end of an interview or have you on a show without asking you about the impact of what the movie Jerry Maguire had on your career. What was it like?
Well, for me, it's a love story. And the lesson that I've learned that had the most impact, besides building my brand to be even associated with the movie being made after our sports agency, but it's really the context of how powerful sports is, and that you can use sports as a backdrop. Most people see Jerry Maguire as their favorite sports film, Rudy, Hoosiers, but Jerry Maguire was a love story to the backdrop of sports. And so I've always utilized sports as a backdrop to my skills, my knowledge, and my desire to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun and empower others to do the same way.
Brilliant. Last question. Advice for chiropractors to stay connected to their local community.
So, believe it or not, the way that we stay connected is create a community of sponsors and power sponsors. I have an open-ended question template that I give to all chiropractors, and it's basically, what are you doing today? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? And then, would it help you if blank? And chiropractors usually have plenty of things that they can do to help. And then finally, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking for more people that I can serve in this way. If you use the open-ended template that I give people, you will double, triple, quadruple your clientele, your vendors, associates, partners. Your business will get out of control by just using a simple way of taking open minds, open hearts, and open hands, asking them open-ended questions to provide value or service, and asking them how they can be of service or value to you.
David, thank you so much for being episode 390 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. If people want to get connected to you, where should we send them?
Email me directly, david@dmeltzer.com, first name at first initial last name, or just Google me, David Meltzer. I'm blessed. You'll find me if you Google me, or david@dmeltzer.com. Please email me for the books, templates, and guides that I mentioned. I'll be happy to be of service, or just register for my free Friday training.
And then my big ask for you is, if you have 3 people that I should be interviewing, please connect me with them.
I got more than 3, my friend. We'd love to help you. All right.
All right, man. Well, have a great day. Thank you for being 390 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Everybody out there is watching, keep hustling. David, I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Be blessed. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.